Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in Bedlam, Joe, in Bedlam. Now, look, I probably should have confirmed this stat, okay? I did not. So if Oklahoma State fans tell me I'm wrong in the comments, more power to you. I just saw it on Twitter. Maybe should have done my own research. Didn't have time, didn't do it. If Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma and Bedlam in back-to-back years, it'd be the first time since the mid-30s. I saw that on Twitter. Again, if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments that I'm wrong. Dude, I don't know if Oklahoma State doesn't pull another upset. But here's the thing for me. I would feel better if Oklahoma would have beat Kansas last week. You know, like, hey, you know, they're coming in there, wounded dog, goes back to our teams that don't win both games on the road. Normally they split. Oklahoma is one of those teams going to Kansas, now going to Bedlam. See, it's not easy to win on the road, but I do think Oklahoma does get back to their winning ways this weekend, Joe. Here's why. I think that they're going to be able to, with Walker and company, even with Dillon Gabriel, run on Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has not been a good rush defense. They're in the hundreds. I think they're 101 in the country in rush yards allowed, rush yards per game. They have looked pretty bad defensively in that run game. I do think Oklahoma is going to be able to get the ball down the field in that running game. And because Oklahoma State has had so much issues there, and by the way, Oklahoma's total defense is 105 in the country. I just think that it is going to be a place or a situation where Oklahoma goes in there, is able to run the football effectively, and they get out of there with the win.
I don't feel, this is one of the few ones where I don't feel super confident in it, but I still will make this statement very firmly. I see what you're saying. I really do think that Oklahoma is in this position to pick themselves up off the mat, but man, I don't know if there's a hotter team right now or a hotter player in the country than Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon. They have been
had 277 last week or something like that, didn't he? Like, he ran all over them.
He's had 3 or 4 straight games where he's been over 200 scrimmage yards. He's had even more, over 150. Right. The crazy part about him is it's not like he had a slow start to the season. They just weren't giving him the football. And they decided, oh, this guy's kind of looking pretty good. Let's start to hand him the ball more. And it's to the tune of 250-yard rushing days. He is an unbelievable running back and one who has really opened the eyes of the college football landscape, the NFL draft landscape. He is one of the best players in the country, as we've seen. I understand their performances have been against weaker opponents, but they are dominating teams along the line of scrimmage and in the run game. I think one of the hardest things to do in college football in the modern era is to slow down a hot rushing team like Oklahoma State. My biggest concern, though, Blake, is what we saw last week and against UCF for Oklahoma. Devin Neal, Jason Bean, and Highshaw ran all over that Oklahoma defense that I thought was so much better than they were. They're having a ton of issues in the back end of their secondary with Reggie Pearson and Bill Bowman. I think that their linebackers have been a little bit inconsistent. Ollie Gordon gets hot. This game is going to end up going in Oklahoma State's favor.
Well, let's not forget that Oklahoma now ran for 230 last week too. And I think Kansas's front seven is better than Oklahoma State's. So I do see, we're just flip-flopping on you think at Ollie Gordon. Now, I will admit, Ollie Gordon is so fun to watch. Man, that 75-yard run he had last week was so amazing. He is one of, arguably, maybe one of the best backs in all of college football. You got to give him that. I think this is what makes Gundy a very, very underrated coach. As you mentioned, not getting him enough touches early in the season, and now they are feeding him, and they're winning football games because of it. Ollie Gordon was probably, Joe, and I think we talked about this when I picked him over Kansas State a couple of weeks ago, he was the reason. When you watch him, he is so good with the ball in his hands. But because I think that Oklahoma is going to be able to run the football and score a lot on this Oklahoma State team, and at least have the threat of scoring a lot, and I think Dillon Gabriel gets back to his ways. Alan Bowman, Oklahoma State's quarterback, he doesn't do it for me. He's thrown for 7% completion percentage. He's got 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Joe, my question would be, and I think Oklahoma actually does have the personnel to do this, even though last week it did not look good. They're going to play man-to-man coverage on the outside, and they're going to send the house at Ollie Gordon. Their key, if you take Ollie Gordon away, which is very difficult, if you can contain him, they're going to win. Now, what's interesting to me, Joe, when I've been watching Oklahoma State the last couple of weeks, Oklahoma the last couple of weeks, their pass defense has not been great. Okay. I think it has been the reason as to why they have been running the football more, because they've had some leaks in the secondary, 86th in the country, passing yards allowed. I just think Oklahoma gets back to those winning ways, because I still think that they're a really talented team, a really young, talented football team. My question would be, how good can DeLeone Gabriel be in this one? Speaking of the run game against Oklahoma State, man, in the secondary, Oklahoma State has not been great either. They're 90th in the country in passing yards allowed. Yeah. So, again, I just think because Oklahoma has too much, Stoops, Farouk, Walker, and company, along with getting Gabriel on the run, they will come up with a win in this one.
Right. This is why I'm not like heavy in on this pick. That's not why it's exactly why I'm not sitting here slamming the table like I was just doing for Washington. Logic would dictate it makes sense to pick Oklahoma for everything that you just said. Oklahoma, and we even talked about this a few weeks ago after they beat Texas. This is the most well-rounded Oklahoma team we have seen in over a decade. They are very, very well-rounded, but the problem is right now.
I'm not going to go there.
5 years. 5 years. Decade wasn't the right word. The last 5 years since Lincoln Riley took over.
That 2019 team could play. That 2019 team could play. The one with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. What I'm getting at here is I just feel as though Oklahoma is the cold team and Oklahoma State's the hot one. And I think that those stats that we're talking about have been a little bit negatively impacted by their really terrible start to the season. They had a really bad start to the season that I cannot ignore, but they are really freaking hot right now. I think a hot college football team, it's not like we've got two hot teams going against one another. You know, this isn't a matchup between two programs that are surging in the right direction. Oklahoma's taking a step back.
No, but you do. Speaking of Oklahoma, you do have a dog that's in the corner. Brother, this is it for them.
That's a key thing. Is how do they react? How do they handle themselves? Do they come out swinging, and do they fight themselves out of the corner? Or
and here's another question. How many signs did Brent Venables steal?
Yeah, is Connor Stallions on the was he at the West Virginia game? We're going to find a picture.
We're going to find out, man. We're going to find out. You never know. You never know where they're being sent. I am with you. I am with you in reference to I like this Oklahoma State team. I like watching them play. They're a fun team to watch because of how they play. I don't think it matters. I like history. I like history being on my side here. The problem is one thing I will point out as well, even though I just poo-pooed on Alan Bowman, their quarterback, he has done a fantastic job at getting a lot of guys involved offensively. Let me explain. Brennan Presley has 39 catches on the year. Jaden Bray and Rashad Owens both have 27. You know what? That all it tells me is that he's getting the ball to the open dude when it's called upon. He has not played great, okay, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. The deciding factor for Oklahoma State for me would be in a win. We look up, and it doesn't have to be a fantastic game. Bowman's got to go for over 275 in the air. He's got to have a pair of scores, okay? If he can get those safeties back, if he can push back those safeties for Oklahoma that have been flying all over the place, it will open up lanes for Ollie Gordon. The magic number for Oklahoma State goes through Alan Bowman. It goes through him having 275, and that's how they get the win for me.
I think I think it benefits him though that as you're talking about these Oklahoma safeties again, they have not graded well. They have not played particularly well. They have been. I like to use PFF sometimes to kind of just justify where I think the direction of a certain team is going. And two of the worst graded players I don't solely rely on it. That needs to be clarified. Two of their worst graded players have been Reggie Pearson and Bill Bowman. Two of their worst graded players. That's a concern.
I will give Bowman this because I don't agree with some of the PFF stuff that's come out on him because I've seen it too. That's on gun, dude. He is Jamal Adams, and they're not playing him correctly. Jamal Adams is not a free safety.
Yeah.
What did we see from Bowman against Texas? When he comes down in the pocket, when he comes downhill and is playing downhill, he will light your ass up. This is a game that's built for him. Teams that want to run the football. And look, I will give him this. I don't think he realized that Kansas actually had some speed, and my man got out of some positions here and there. And I saw one play against, I think it was Kansas. If I'm misremembering, I apologize. But I think Bean on that zone read, and he's like trying to catch up to him, and he's like, you could just tell he's telling his teammates like, God damn, this dude's fast. Like sometimes it sneaks up on you. It sneaks up on you, Joe.
Right.
I don't hate that. All right, we got to get moving.